Hola, and welcome to another episode of the Get Closer podcast, and the platform for conversations with industry business leaders talking about decisive leadership, niche services, and insights. I am your host, Jackie Krick. Today we speak with Pat Pate, the Manassas City Manager, and the conversation will focus on community and economic development, how to attract and support industry, and small business growth, one of my favorite topics, and what he thinks about his biggest accomplishments have been as he heads into retirement. How fun. Thanks for joining us, Pat.
Glad to be here.
Great. So happy to have you here. We met in 2013, and at that time, you had only been on the job for 1 week. Tell us about your journey coming from North Carolina to a city in Virginia. What was that like?
Yes, it's at least an interesting story from my perspective. I grew up in eastern North Carolina and spent my childhood there. Had a lot of family that was in public service there. My uncle that was a mayor, uncle that was a fire chief, went to school at Chapel Hill and was an Eagle Scout. So I was always involved in community aspects and community things. So I got a master's in public administration from Chapel Hill, and from there went to start my career in the city of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, in the Piedmont Triad, working in finance and budget at that point. Then went to Greensboro, where I was the budget director and was there for about a decade. Then went to the city of High Point as assistant city manager. So working my way around in North Carolina there. So I had almost 30 years of experience in North Carolina, and somebody I knew that was recruiting for the city of Manassas called me up and said, "Hey, I think this is a great little community that you would like to visit and would really enjoy." And so I came in and talked to the council at the time and interviewed, and the rest was history. For the last decade, I've been here as the city manager in Manassas.
Some things there I didn't know about you, so it's good to know that you've had such a long stretch in a career serving community, really, and businesses.
Absolutely, that's been a theme of mine from early in my career till today, almost 40 years of working in public sector.
No disappointments there, right?
No, not really.
I know
it's been a great journey. There's always ups and downs, but in my profession, I like to live by the model: we want to leave every place better than we found it, and I think I've been able to do that. And I think Manassas is a great place, and we've seen a lot of change.
I would agree with you, and we're going to get a little bit into that, into state of Manassas and how Manassas has evolved in so many different ways. But before we get there, tell us about your role as the city manager. If anyone is looking to follow a career similar to that, or anyone who's watching is looking to get some nuggets what could be some of the things that you consider as being a city manager, what would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them if you like a career where 24/7 folks are looking for information from you and about what's going on, and you like dealing with boards that you don't have any chance of picking yourself, they're picked by the public and you just have to work with them. There is some uniqueness about public service, but there's tons of rewards in public service, and particularly in local government, and being close to the communities that you serve and the residents that can really see a difference in their lives based on the things that you do. So anybody thinking about a career in city management or in city government, and people don't realize the breadth of activities we have in the city. Here we do almost every activity that people could think of, from traditional things that people, finance and accounting or HR or information technology, but we also do water and sewer. We do electric utilities. We have an airport. We do social services, public health. We have police and fire and planning activities and community development and solid waste collection and streets and traffic. There's just so many different things that you can be involved in and that can help schools. I didn't even mention schools, the things that you can really make a difference in. So looking at doing a career path in this of getting into a community, into a role that you can get a sense of what the community is about, and then grow your skills into management. It's a great profession.
And I would assume that anyone thinking in a career as a city manager would definitely have to step up in different levels before getting there, based on the fact of what you just said. There are so many areas, and depending on the city and the size, everything just grows from there, right?
Absolutely.
My goodness.
Usually it starts with a good education, and then going in and working in a department. Again, understanding what's going on and building your career, learning to work with the community, learning to work with public officials, and stepping up your career from that.
And I would assume that overseeing the finances are a huge part of that, right? In addition to everything else that you said.
It is. And my background came out of budget and finance, so that's been a hallmark of my career, and I've been very proud. If you're investing, you know that the AAA bond rating is the highest you can get, and every community I've worked in has achieved a AAA bond rating while I have been there. So it's I feel that is a great accomplishment.
That
I'm proud
is.
of.
I'm going to ask you later about that, and I guess we're going to check that one off.
Okay.
For sure. So in as we move forward and think about Manassas, right?
Mm-hmm.
My next question is, why Manassas? We at ECU are a member of the community and the business community here. In fact, ECU, years ago, we did the first campaign to bring awareness about the city here in Manassas and bring more tourism and shopping and events and things like that. But besides that, the city has a great sense of business community.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's a small city, relatively small, everyone knows everybody, right?
Absolutely.
So how has the city, in your role, and the folks that you work with, what role do they play in the growth of the community in the city and supporting that small community?
Absolutely. There's a lot of pieces to unpack in that. As you mentioned, we first met in 2013 when I'd first gotten here, and at that point, ECU wasn't in the city proper as a business there, and so part of the role that we play, we started an economic development department after I got here, and a big piece of that was to help businesses, particularly entrepreneurs and folks that were looking to expand, understand the ins and outs of what it takes to open a business in the city. People can go through, there can be lots of red tape, lots of bureaucracy, and our efforts on the city side is, and particularly in Manassas, has always been to make it as easy as possible for businesses to come in and open and be successful in our community. And that's not always the case. As you said, we're a smaller community than a lot of the areas around us, and you have that uniqueness of the businesses and the business owners know each other and they work with each other. And you being a part of our downtown community, you know that very well, mm-hmm. is that there's a real sense of it's in the old days, you know, when you need to go across the street and borrow an egg or a cup of coffee, businesses here do the same thing, yes. Whether it's going to get something from when one brewery goes to the next one to get some hops, or any number of things, or if somebody needs help and knowing about how to do an advertising campaign, they come and they ask. Or you or I know are part of another business downstairs right here that helps small businesses and entrepreneurs develop their business model so that they can expand. So we've been very successful in the community of helping people. From our farmers market, we had a mm-hmm. lot of folks that have started brick and mortar stores from that. A few people from the restaurants that might have had a food truck and then have come in and become a restaurant. There's just many ways for businesses to grow. And it's not even the small businesses. Micron Semiconductors, which is a huge facility, and they've expanded in the city, and that took a lot of effort and a lot of community pulling together to make those things happen. So we're at a size that it really helps for people to know each other and to be able to help each other, and I think you get that in this community that you might not get in other places.
Would you say that Manassas does smart business?
Smart, absolutely.
Right?
I think they want to be, yes.
Because when you look at the composition of the business structure, lots of small businesses, restaurants, retail, other small mom and pop stores. But as you start to open that periscope, you see a tremendous line of businesses that are not really small. You mentioned Micron.
That is correct.
It's one of them.
That's just one. Lockheed Martin's in the community. Boeing Airlines is in the community. BAE is in the community.
Now the airport.
Swift, the airport is doing some additional expansions with a variety of companies out there. So we really do go from the small one-person business that's trying to just get started to the multinational corporations here. We have a technology corridor that people don't realize all the time. There are some real high-tech things going on in this community. And with Micron, that's the primary advanced manufacturing that's going on in all of Northern Virginia is happening right here in Manassas.
Globally, right? It
Yes,
affects
sir.
It's a global effect that what Micron does here in our backyard.
Right. And we spend a lot of time, as you said, working with small businesses, entrepreneurs that are looking to expand their businesses. But when we go after somebody like Micron, we were competing multinationally. We were competing against other countries to land that expansion business. So we play well beyond our weight in many cases.
And I would say that Micron was also very smart in selecting to stay here in our backyard, right?
Absolutely.
They're an amazing group of folks as well. What about as we shift, because the city, when you and I talked last week, right, we're getting ready to, basically we casually talked, and this is how the podcast happened, right?
We were celebrating your husband's birthday. Just go ahead and say what's going on.
Yes. So when you start thinking about expansion and growth in the city and all the wonderful things that have happened in the city over the past, even let's just say 4 or 5 years, right? Moving it forward, there's additional talks about, actually it's not talks about expansion, but it's actually happening, the airport, which is going to bring another circle of growth in new businesses in the area, in a broader economy. How will that affect the city?
Yes, most people don't realize that we have an airport in the city of Manassas. In this area, people think about Dulles or Reagan, but we have the largest regional airport in the Commonwealth of Virginia, the most traffic that comes in and out of the airport, and a tremendous number of businesses that are at our facility because of the airport, and a lot of exciting things going on with the whole technology revolving around autonomous flights and the ability for one day for us to have a taxi that flies down and lands at our house and carries us somewhere else,
I want
not
one
just
of
our
those.
packages. Yes. I'm going to wait to make sure that they get tested really well
yes,
first.
for sure.
But they're coming, and we know that they're coming. And so we've got a lot of that going on. And then the real exciting thing that you're referring to right now is Avports has established a contract with us to bring commercial service to the Manassas Regional Airport. So that will be complementary to the big airports in the area. So we're not going to be competing. We're not going to bring in United or American as flights, but there will be regional aircraft that'll be flying directly out of Manassas to places of interest in the area. And that's all still being developed right now, but that's going to really bring folks into Manassas that want to be in the DC area and that are looking for those easier ways to get back and forth to the places that they're at. So that's really going to be a big generator of business, I think, for the area.
I would love the day when I don't have to drive down 66 and just come here and take my flight. That would be wonderful.
That's right.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
We think in
It's
the next couple of years it'll be here.
Yes. Wow. There's so much happening here.
Yes.
Tell us about the VRE. So VRE is a central, it's just a block from anywhere in the city, right? And it's a central form of transportation for folks that live here and commute to DC.
Right.
Does the VRE have a broader future as well? Is there anything that might be in the incubator process or something
absolutely.
like that?
There's two parts of that, because VRE has had a tremendous amount of of impact on this community. Manassas is a railroad community. That's why we're here, because of the railroad junction that was in this place. People think of us as a Civil War community, but we're actually not. The Civil War was fought in the general area, but the community was established after that. And it was because of the railroad. And so the railroad has been a major piece of our transportation. We have, not far from you, a building called the Candy Factory, which is now for the arts. But that was actually a building off the railroad that produced candy that was shipped back and forth across the East Coast. There was huge dairy farms here, and all of those milk products were shipped many times over the railroad into D.C. to feed for the folks there that needed fresh milk on a daily basis. But the VRE has been able to use those railroad tracks that we have to do a daily commuter service for folks that are living in this area and work elsewhere. I will say a lot of folks actually, there's a huge defense contract business in this area, and so a lot of people actually commute into the Pentagon or to the Arlington area, and you can commute all the way into DC. And so that has been a great lifeline for the area and getting people off the roads and able to get in. And there is a lot of talk about where that goes in the future. Obviously, the pandemic changed the way that transit was working, but we're seeing growth back in that, and we're looking at expanding that service to have more service back and forth during the day and on the weekends between here and DC, which will, again, I think will allow for a lot more growth, particularly in the tourism area.
You're going to need more parking.
We'll probably need more parking if we do that. That is true.
So beyond those things that I mentioned, what else can you tell us about the future of Manassas? You are retiring. We'll talk about that. But as you are getting ready to exit and go back home, what is the future? You're leaving a great legacy, I think. You've seen City of Manassas grow from a smaller city that still needed to bring some resources in-house, which have happened, you've already mentioned. And then not also that, but bring in new business and a new economy and a thriving economy. So what's next for the city in your eyes?
We still have quite a few things in the pipeline that'll be coming down, and some that we haven't talked about that are publicly known, are things like a new hotel in the downtown area. The older motel that we had is the city has purchased that, and it's being torn down, and that's going to make way for something new and more modern and have more.
We are happy about that. It's right across the street, and we're happy to see that go. And yes, very excited about that.
That's going to be a really a great addition to the community in terms of still keeping. We do I think a great job of maintaining the character of our downtown, and we talk about our logo, the historic heart and a modern beat. And so we want to preserve the history of our community and that feel of being in an authentic community. I have folks from much larger jurisdictions around us that come into Manassas often and tell me, you have what we're trying to create. When people try to create a town center, they're trying to recreate what we already have authentically here in the downtown. And so we're continuing to expand on that. There are several other new business things that are in the pipeline that some of which I can't talk about yet, but in the downtown area that will help, and in the surrounding areas close to the downtown that we'll continue to see, I think, that growth. Because as you mentioned, we think and we believe, based on what people are doing, that we are a good place to do business, and that folks will help you get your business set up, and we can help you grow. And the business community has got great partnerships to help each other to grow. So I think there'll be a lot continuing to go on in the Manassas corridor. There's some new things in the Liberia corridor. So there's some good things in store for Manassas.
I can't wait to hear those, because they're not immediate, right? So we tend to forget. We think of the city just here, but there are things happening everywhere. And
that's, people don't realize that. But on the city government side, a lot of things we're doing, we're having to look, particularly in my role, you're having to look 10, 20 generations in the future. And what are we doing today that's going to impact those future generations. Annenberg Manor is another good example, which is a park near the downtown with a house that we've able to stabilize, and I think it actually looks beautiful now, getting back to its original red sandstone colors. And then that park will continue to develop, but it takes a while for trees to grow. And so when we plant those, we're planting and preparing for a generation that will enjoy that's not here today.
Well, you've also done a wonderful job with the museum.
Museum expansion is great.
It is a beautiful site. It looks so beautiful. I'm sure it's right behind us in our building, but I love it. It's a gorgeous place, a gorgeous piece. And I know it took a little while to get there, but you guys worked steadily and got it done very quickly, fairly quickly.
It did, actually. We were able to get that built in about a year, but as you said, the planning, we started talking about that about the time I came here, so almost 10 years ago. And we've been talking about how that might look and what we wanted to do with that facility. And so now we do have a beautiful museum with and folks can come and you can rent space in there. You can see the history about the area, and there'll be ongoing exhibits that are changing out. So it's a great opening area outside for folks to picnic or to have events, and many people do come to events there already, and so it is a great venue.
Well, Manassas is a friendly place, and it's here it's a destination, and all the things that you're talking about continue to add more to its appeal and continued desire to come here and go to events and stay at the hotels and visit the restaurants. So you guys are doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
Great job. Let's talk about your future, right? You certainly will leave a mark here. We are certainly going to miss you, Pat. I think you are a pillar that built really good things in the city, expanded economic growth. And I know you don't do it alone, but you're definitely a leader.
Thank you.
And a leader who knows how to choose and select and plan. And so kudos to you.
Thank you.
For the future, what's in the future for Pat Pate?
Well, in the future for me, I have decided that I'm not, even though I will be retiring from the Virginia system, I'm not ready to give everything up yet. So for me, my next step, I'm actually going to be the city manager of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So it's again, as I mentioned earlier, that's a community that I started in my career, and so I'm going back there. And most of my career has been in North Carolina. That's where my children were raised. I have family back in the area, so it's a homecoming.
You're going home.
It's a homecoming for me.
Yes.
It's a different environment. It's a much larger city, 250,000 in size. So it'll be a different kinds of challenges, but at the core of it, most of the challenges have the same roots. As people want good quality of life. You have to, as you said, attract good staff, build good teams, build partnerships in the community, so that you've got, because it takes a village to create a village.
It does.
It's not just to raising a child. It takes all of us to make the things great in a community, and I think we've got a really great community here in Manassas, and so I'm hoping to there's a lot of great things I'm going to find in Winston. I'm hoping to build on my success there and help them achieve more and great things too.
Well, much congratulations to you, and I'd like to think that your stay here, 10 years, about 10 years,
mm-hmm.
which you told me is usually about the limit, right? But
the average for managers is usually more about 3 or 4 years.
Oh,
so
they can't take it.
I did really good.
But I would like to think and probably say that, yes, Manassas, even though a little bit different because every town is different, but challenges are about the same, that you're taking some good experiences with you that
absolutely.
will be applicable to a bigger city that it's so well known to you because you've already been there.
Absolutely. There's so many good things I think that we've accomplished, and you've talked a lot about them. Our economic growth in the community, our ability to have mixed-use developments, and to create a quality of life for everybody in the community, to make sure that we've got that ability for people to live, work, and play in one local area. I tell people all the time, when I came to Manassas, we thought one of the draws, we were here in the D.C. region, so you've got all these amenities that are close by but are not right on top of you. But you don't have to go to D.C. for anything.
No.
Everything that we need is right here in Manassas and in the greater Manassas area. And we've found that to be the case, that there's so many good things happening right here that there's lots of draw, as you said, and tourism, and folks, this is a good place to come.
So, Pat, you're leaving, but it almost feels like you're leaving your heart here, the way you're so passionate to talk about it. And we're certainly going to miss you.
Well, thank you.
We'll go visit.
Absolutely.
Hopefully. And we really wish you all the very best. You have been a great example for us here. And knowing you and knowing economic development and the city was certainly a big reason for us to move here and to be here. So we're very happy to be part of the community and very happy to know you.
Well, you're a great asset to the community, and I guess I'll put a plug in for the chamber because we met at a chamber event too, and so it's right. Amazing. You never know where those connections are going to come from, and it's been great having you and your business and all of your folks here in the community. And I know you've expanded several times since you've been here, and your business has grown. So you're a great example that we use all the time. We talk about how this is a great place to be and what all wonderful things you can do with the business here in the city.
And a welcoming community, right? Because that, I think, is a big essence of the city. It's not just you go someplace and you establish yourself. I think it's a very warm and welcoming community. So
absolutely,
very happy that you've been part of it and that I got to know you.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to call you a friend as well.
Thank you, Pat.
It's been a great relationship, and you're right. We always leave a part of our heart here.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And here you have it. We hope you enjoyed our Getting Closer with Pat. For now, keep paving your path forward and lead with purpose, no matter what you do. And don't forget, dream high. Remember, there's no ceiling, only opportunity. Hasta la próxima.